So let's talk about your time as a student there. How did that happen? Did you apply or did they come to you? If you can walk us through that, Proton.
So that's a really, really good story. I'm coming to the end of my very first. Hey, sorry.
That's okay.
Stop. Stop. Charlie. Rhino, give him the blanket. Come here. Okay, lay down. Lay down, you knuckleheads. So I'm coming to the end of my very first tour. So I'm from Southern California. My dad is an airline pilot at the time. It's pre 9/11, and I'm not entirely sure. You know, this is the spring, summer of 1997. So what do I want to do with my life? I don't know. I live in Lemoore, California. Lemoore is near Fresno. It's not the end of the world, but you can see it from there. And my family is Northern and Southern California. So my original thought process was I really love flying fighters. I think it'd be cool to be a Blue Angel. And so maybe I'll give that a go. I'll go down to what I want to do is I'll go down and be an instructor at the Fleet Replacement Squadron I was at. Had gone through, which had been subsequently had moved from El Toro. The Navy had given up Miramar by that point. So the Marine Corps had moved down, taken over Miramar. And so me and my peers said, like, oh, wouldn't it be great to fly F-18s out of San Diego? Maybe rush the Blue Angels, maybe not. See what happens out of that. And if nothing happens, then go become an airline pilot. Because that was just sort of the path that most of my peers were on. So I was squadron. We are training in Fallon, which is where Top Gun had moved to. I have a mentor in my squadron, a guy named Tom Downing, call sign Trim, who's a legend in naval aviation. And so unbeknownst to me, Trim is sort of evaluating me and the other guys in the squadron, and he assesses that I have the ability to possibly be a Top Gun A student and be an instructor. Mm-hmm. So we happen to be in Fallon doing some training, and the manning officer at Top Gun at the time, a guy named Jeff Winter, call sign Chili, who's still a really close friend of mine, comes up, introduces himself. Hey, have you ever thought about Top Gun? Sure. What? So I was then faced with okay, do I go down to San Diego and fly F-18s and surf, or do I go to Fallon and work really hard, don't get me wrong, as cool as an instructor, or do I go to Fallon, Nevada? So San Diego, lived in La Jolla, Solana Beach, Pacific Beach, as a late 20s guy, single guy, or do I go to Fallon, Nevada, which is 60 miles east of Reno, and a town of 20,000, a very, very small town, and really, really work hard. And I remember vividly having a conversation with my dad. And I was like, I'm very fortunate I had options. And my dad said, you will have other opportunities in your life to perhaps, if you stay in, to go be an instructor, an F-18 instructor in one of the fleet replacement squadrons. You're going to have one shot to go to Top Gun. And it was I was, this epiphany and like, holy smokes, you're right. And so that was sort of the deciding line. And I remember the detailer calls me on midsummer of 97 and says, okay, I need an answer. And I said, I'm going to Top Gun. And he goes, congratulations. And then I thought, oh my God, what have I got myself into? And so I went on deployment a couple weeks after that, left in the middle of deployment, went to Fallon and started a 10-week grind as a student. Being a student at Top Gun is, having gone through it and then having instructed it now twice, it is the most difficult thing you can possibly do in an airplane. There's a thing that the Navy and the Marine Corps put there, and actually the U.S. services put, it's called SEER School. Are you familiar with SEER School?
No,
have you heard of it? Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape. It's basically a POW school where you go off and you try to survive, and then you get captured, and then you go through, what it's like to be a POW, and then you learn all these lessons. It's a really, really hard school. It's short. It's physically and mentally challenging, but you learn a lot out of it. You learn a lot about yourself and what you can withstand, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm fond of saying that Top Gun as a student is like SEER School with jets, because it is really hard. You learn a lot. It's physically demanding. It's mentally demanding. And the bar is high for a reason. When I showed up as a student. I had never, ever failed a test, a flight, a sim, anything. I had always passed everything I'd ever done. My second flight at Top Gun, I failed 3 times. My third flight at Top Gun, I failed twice. And by the 5th failure, I remember vividly calling my dad, "Hey, how's it going?" And I was like, I don't think I'm gonna make it. And wow. He was like, I'm like, yeah, these guys are kicking my ass. And fortunately, I kind of scrambled through it and made it through the rest of the way. But it was brutal. But the upshot of that is that, you back to the original, the deciding point, and Trim Downing was one of these advocates. Like, there are very, very few professional athletes in the world. And so full circle, I want to be a professional athlete. This Trim and my father and others sort of people that I look up to and mentors are like, yes, you're a great fighter pilot, but there's only one way you're really going to know how good you are. And it's to go be with other really, really good fighter pilots. And that will, iron sharpens iron kind of thing. And it was the best decision I ever made.